The story begins with a woman lying unconscious on a concrete floor, with a bloody finger and shoes stained with dried blood. Despite the dramatic appearance, she seems relatively unharmed. Meanwhile, huge waves crash against the shore, creating a terrifying sound that echoes through the place where the woman lies. This deafening noise finally wakes her from her unconscious state. When she opens her eyes, all she sees is concrete. Confused, she moves for the first time and realizes she's in a terrible situation. On the edge of a curved structure at a great height. Below her is a dark abyss that promises to take her to another world if she makes a wrong move. Her left leg is folded under her body, making any attempt to move without risk impossible. Before we continue, I'd like to recommend Matt Parr's course for growing on YouTube. It helped me monetize several channels and earn over $10,000 from them. If you're interested, just click the link in the description and check it out. I guarantee you won't regret it. It's definitely the best investment I've ever made in my life. Realizing the danger, she panics and tries to retreat, but her movement only makes her slide further down. Fortunately, she doesn't fall yet, but it's clear it's only a matter of time. The movement forces her left leg up, causing intense pain. Her palms are scraped by the rough concrete. She takes a deep breath and silently prays for her life, knowing that her chances of survival are slim. Suddenly, a loud horn sound from the void below frightens her even more. She rationalizes that the sound must be caused by the wind, but soon after, a louder roar is heard, and she looks at the sky, frustrated, letting out a scream. Interestingly, during filming, the lead actress actually had to face her fear of heights, making the scenes even more authentic. Back to our story. After a few minutes of silence, the woman only hears her rapid breathing and her thoughts telling her to survive at any cost. She knows that staying still will eventually harm her, but moving could throw her down instantly. Even so, she decides to take the risk. After a few long breaths to calm herself, she places her hands and right leg firmly on the concrete and tries to turn around. The plan fails and she slides even closer to the precipice. Staying calm, she realizes she must give up trying to straighten her leg. The only way out is to pull herself up in the position she's in. Now, let's think about what not to do in this situation. Don't panic and make sudden movements, which clearly only makes things worse. What would I do? I'd follow the example of our tenacious heroine. With her palms now bleeding heavily after being scraped, she lifts her right hand and separates two fingers stuck together with blood. She wipes the blood on her jacket to prevent her hands from slipping on the next attempt. Even the process of wiping is horribly painful, but she bravely endures it. Then, she blows on the wounds, wishing for a relief that hardly comes. Finally, after contemplating her next move for a considerable time, she lifts her uninjured leg. Her bloody palms push against the concrete as she arches her body in painful effort. And, of course, as she fights for survival, we can imagine even Alfred Hitchcock biting his nails in suspense. Fortunately for her, the plan finally works this time, and she advances a few inches. The woman sighs in relief and continues breathing deeply to calm herself. Her palms are almost numb from the pain, but she still lifts them one at a time and blows on them. Without thinking much, she makes a similar move again and climbs a bit more. Eventually, the woman starts to hallucinate. She sees bloodstains on the curve below, but her body seems absent from her vision. She looks at her palm and back at the bloodstains, beginning to hyperventilate. Now she is as far from the edge as possible, with a vertical wall behind her. It's clear she can't climb in any condition, but in her moment of panic, she doesn't rationalize her next move and tries to climb again. The woman soon faces the consequences of her haste when she slides down a bit. The panic intensifies her hallucinations. She looks down and sees the bloodstains elongating. She tries to hold on again but stops when she hears a loud noise. Looking back at the stains, she notices two more appearing. Her only options now are to wait for inevitable death or make a move and fall to her doom faster. In her head, something tells her that if she keeps doing what she's doing, she'll surely survive. This misguided motivation proves that her brain is failing to understand the gravity of the situation. The only problem is that her will to survive might lead her to fall to her demise sooner than expected. While anyone else in her place would have given up, she bravely lifts her palm and blows on it, ready to push herself up once more. This is where things get funny, in Hitchcockian suspense style, like in Psycho, where every move she makes is a shot in the dark. But instead of Norman Bates, we have gravity as the villain. And, of course, the woman doesn't think of giving up, even when the rain starts to pour heavily, as if the sky were mocking her situation. The rain, which could either be her salvation or her ruin, just lubricates the surface and makes her slide even more. She closes her eyes, grits her teeth, and lets out a scream that's no match for the thunder. She remembers wearing a chain necklace that could help her hold onto the curve longer, and she yanks it off her neck, wrapping it around her wrist. Another interesting fact is that this film was directed by Tim Egan and stood out for using practical effects to create tension, unlike many films that rely on CGI. If I were in her place, I definitely wouldn't have tried to climb again right after the first slip. Maybe I would have waited for help that might never come, but at least I wouldn't have slid further down. But, of course, who am I to judge? I probably would have panicked way sooner and done something equally impulsive, like trying to use the chain necklace to rappel down the smooth wall. But seriously, this is the most psychologically horrifying film I've ever watched. I was sweating and felt like I was going to have a heart attack. It was simply horrible to see the woman scraping her hands on the concrete until they bled and seeing her legs stuck like that. The producers and director Tim Egan showed high-level creativity. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video.
And I gotta tell you, it was perfect.